Okay, so Mishnah Chafal, Parak Dalet, Pirkei Avos, Mishnah Chafal says the Mishnah. V'lozer HaKapar says, Hakina, v'hataiva, v'hakavoid, moitziin es ha'adam min ha'olam. Kina, we'll say, is jealousy, taiva is desires, and kavod, the desire for honor. The desires are for physical desires. Kavod is for honor. Or moitziin es ha'adam min ha'olam. They take a person out of this world. So what does that mean? Says Rabbeinu Yona, when it comes to jealousy, there are two things. Shebahem shnayim u'shloisha inyanim ein behem l'raya. That there are two types of jealousy, that each one has three inyanim. There are three different, there's two broad categories, and each one has three subcategories. And these three words, I don't know what Rabbeinu means. He says, ein behem l'raya, which means that there's nothing worse than these, than they. Ein behem l'raya. There's nothing worse. Hadarach echad. Okay, the first type of kina is hamakana b'toiva. Right? A person is jealous of good. He sees good and he's jealous of that good. Hu darach hara, and is bad. In Harish, the first subcategory of being jealous about good things, ki yirach haver toiv Rabbeinu. A person sees his friend is doing well, is doing the right thing, and it bothers him. It's Rabbeinu, it's bad in his eyes. That this friend is learning Torah, he's involving himself in mitzvahs, he's going on the right path, and he's jealous of him. This person hates those who love Hashem and those who perform His will. Right? We all come into contact, if not firsthand and secondhand, with people who just push it. Sometimes it's Jews, sometimes it's Goyim. We just hate those who fulfill the word of Hashem, and that's a kin, there's a jealousy there. This midah will take a person out of this world. This is the worst type of kinna. The worst kinna is a person who hates the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and it's not the person we'll see in a second. It's not that he's jealous that he's not there. He just hates. He hates people who follow Hashem's word. It's a soine Hashem, and that's moitzias min ha'olam. I guess if it's a yid, so he's not going to have any chelik in the world to come. He just has a hatred towards Ovdei Hashem. Hayin Hasheni, the second subcategory, lo yeira be'einav mitzad ki hu soine derech Hashem ha'osik b'toira. He's not upset when people do the right thing. He's not jealous of those who do the right thing because he hates the derech Hashem. The first person just hates the derech Hashem. This person, be'etzim, objectively would love to be a tzaddik. Since he himself is not following in that path, he doesn't want his friend to follow. If I'm not doing it, I don't want my friend to do it. Because his desire is not to find anyone who's greater than he. This person also is called the Soine Hashem. Why? Because he himself is not following the mitzvahs Hashem, what Hashem wants him to do. And if he sees his friends doing it, also bothers him. He's not as bad. The first guy objectively hates those who follow Hashem. That's the worst kinna. Level 2, which is also pretty bad, also called the Soine Hashem, one who hates Hashem, is a person who is jealous of his friend who's doing the right thing, and he knows he should be doing the right thing, and he doesn't do it. That's the second category. So I know it's different machlekes amongst different kiruv yeshivas, or we call schools of thought, as far as how to do kiruv, and that could be based on their understanding of why is the people are not from. People who are exposed to Yiddishkeit, or as they become exposed to Yiddishkeit, some people just want to run away from it. So why is that? So Esha Torah, he had a philosophy that every Jew knows the right thing. They all know the right thing. And it's just that the Yetzer Hara makes them not want to do it. But deep down, the most fry Yid, who knows what Yiddishkeit is at least, they really know that the Orthodox Jews are doing the right thing and they're not doing the right thing. He brings it out with the following Maisa. I heard in a tape. that he was giving a shir. He said there was a bacher who came from California to the yeshiva back in, I don't know, the 1970s, 1980s when the yeshiva started. And he came from nothing, and Imam was working 3 or 4 months in the yeshiva, and he's very learning, and he's keeping mitzvahs. Around 6 months into his time in the yeshiva, he gets a phone call from his parents. You have to come back to California because your sister got chapped by one of these cults. There were still cults going on there, and the sister got chapped by a cult, and therefore he told you got to come back. You have to come back. So he came back to the house, and so when he came back to the house, so the problem was that now he was kosher, right? So he told his parents that he can't eat this food. He had to order from a kosher restaurant, and milk inflation and step in the dishes, and Shabbos came, and it was the whole tumult. Within a week or two, they threw him out of the house, and his sister, who was telling them that their bread is the bread of Satan, and they have Satan's blood all on their hands, and all these Gefer Kazachen. She was Nebuch in a cult. She was still in the house, and they were trying to work with her. They're very upset with where she was holding. They were willing to work with her and try to help her, but the son was 100% fine, a mensch, a ben Torah, but he just wanted to keep milk and meat separate. They threw him out of the house. So how do we understand that? One of the daughter is saying, you have the blood of Satan on your hands. The son is just saying, I want to have a separate milk and meat kitchen. So Rabbi Weinberg wanted to say that they know that she's crazy. The parents know they don't have the blood of Satan on their hands. They know that in Nebuch, she's been chapped by a cult. So they didn't feel threatened by her, and they're trying to help her. But with their son who became from, so they know that he's right. Deep down, they know that really they should be keeping separate milk and separate meat dishes. And therefore, it bothered them. So that's the kin over here. So Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal would say, probably, I'm assuming, that most people, I think, fall into the second category of kinna. It's already a darga to mamash objectively hate Ovdei Hashem. I'm sure we have people like that. But the majority of people today, they kind of know they should be doing the right thing. They know that their approach to Yiddishkeit is not the correct approach, and therefore it bothers them when they see people who are doing the right thing. And that could probably account, not to get political, for some of the just building the table with Shakespeare. That could cause some of the anti-religious sentiment that you find in the media today might be a result of various Jews and other people who just know that they're doing the wrong thing, and they're going to try to make the Jews doing the right thing look as bad as possible. That is the second form of kinna, of jealousy. So then, says the Rabbeinu Yona, yesh derech toiva b'kinna. Then there is a relatively good place, there's a relatively good place of kinna, a good manner, or oifen of kinna, and that is as follows. There's one that's even better than that. In other words, there is like the lesser of a few evils. There is a kinna that is not so bad. The Rabbanan saying, right, there is a statement of Chazal that kinas soifrim tar b'chachma, the jealousy of soifrim, of scribes, which in this context means talmidei chachamim, the jealousy of people who are learning Torah is tar b'chachma, will cause chachma to flourish. A person sees that his friends are chachamim, they're accomplishing in Torah. He also wants to be like them. So through the kinna, he sees his friends excelling in Torah. He says, you know what? I also want to be like that. So therefore, he also starts to excel in Torah. That's good. He's using kinna, he's using jealousy, mizakt in English, positive peer pressure, right? He's using his friends to motivate him to learn more. It's even better in Belay Kinnas Chafetz Be'ela, no Hashem Hein. Obviously, the best is the person realizes himself, he's in a desert and no one's around, and he realizes that, you know what, I should keep turning and learn Torah and do the mitzvahs. The Iker Arbit, the main avodah of the mensch, of the person, is to, in that oifen, is to not be jealous of anyone and to objectively, in oneself, decide that he wants to be more committed to Talmud Torah and to mitzvahs. And that's what Shlomo Melech says in Koheles. I've seen all the toil, says Shlomo Melech, and the kishron hamaisa, which means good actions. Kinas ish mere'ehu. I see so much of the good that a person does is really kinas ish mere'ehu. It's really jealousy of man to his friend. It's also hevel havalim. It's also nothing. He means to say, says Rabbeinu Yona, even though the person doing it with kishron, he's doing a good action. It's kosher. If he's going to do it through jealousy, he's doing good. L'maisa, he's using his jealousy in a positive direction. But there's also something very bad. A person who's doing avodas Hashem not because of anyone else, just because of himself, that's the highest level. The best is to do it from oneself. So the pasuk Kelis is saying that I've seen all the toil and all the kishron, all the kasher ma'asim that people do. In his observations, Shlomo HaMelech was saying that it's all kinas ishmereu. It's all based on jealousy. A person is jealous of Rabbi Kiva Eger. Rabbi Kiva Eger was holding in Kol Torah Kula. Maybe today people we're not such Baalei Gaiva to be jealous of Rabbi Kiva Eger, but we're jealous of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, or we're jealous of a Talmud Chacham we see today. And we're jealous. I want to be like that. Says Shlomo Melech, that is the norm, and that's good, but really it's hevel ru'us ruach, and the main kin a person should have is on his own, just to want to do the right thing, not to look at other people. The imizel, we say yasa ma'isa toilef neil kimhu, but the ma'isa says the Rabbeinu either way. Hashem is happy with either mahalach, whether a person is doing the kinna to make him do Torah mitzvahs, or he's on his own. They're both good. There's a healthy balance a person should strike, so it's like the lesser of the evils. If that's going to motivate a person, so be it. But you do find sometimes that people are jealous of others. There's once a city in Eretz Yisrael happened to be where, there's a whole tumult in Eretz Yisrael about using electricity on Shabbos, because the Shal of Chilul Shabbos, that there are Yidden who are doing different malachas in the electric company there to keep things going, and it could be Chilul Shabbos. Even if you get a taina, there's no Chilul Shabbos because there's someone in your block, your electric block, that needs electricity, is Pikuach Nefesh. So if you'd be sitting in the electric company on any given Shabbos and any given neighborhood would go dark, you would have a chiyuv al safek Pikuach Nefesh. You would actually have a chiyuv to put the electricity back on. That being said, there is a way to organize it that you have goyim doing it. There is a way you can do it. There won't be Chilul Shabbos, and therefore you have to do it like that. So they had a meeting with the Rabbanim many years ago, and the Rabbanim offered a way to do it that's very gishmak and it works. And there's no Chilul Shabbos. They just disregarded it because they didn't care about Chilul Shabbos. So Chazon Ish held that's a Chilul Hashem. It's a Chilul Hashem. You have Yidden who don't care about Chilul Shabbos. They're putting themselves in a matzav where they are being Mechal Shabbos, even though it's Pikuach Nefesh, but they can avoid it. Then it's Chilul Hashem. Many from Yidden don't have generators. They don't. When I was in Eretz Yisrael, I didn't have a generator. But many from Yidden have generators. It's very chosh v'zach. It's very chosh to have a generator. So to have your own electricity, not to rely on the state's electricity on Shabbos to avoid the Chilul Shabbos, the Chilul Hashem. As a parenthetical statement, the Chazon Ish said, is it usher to light a cigarette from a burning Sefer Torah? Chas v'shalom is a Sefer Torah that's burning. Right? So is it usher to light your cigarette from that Sefer Torah? The answer is there's no isser. There's absolutely no isser to light your cigarette from that Sefer Torah. But what kind of Yid would light a cigarette from a burning Sefer Torah? Right? Not a good Yid. So Shabbos is burning, he said. There's Chilul Shabbos. Using electricity, in the Chazon Ish's opinion was like lighting your cigarette from a burning Sefer Torah. Okay, that's the Chazon Ish's opinion. Fine. Shlomo Zalman was also makbid on that. Certain times he wasn't. Rosh Hashanah he wasn't makbid, different reasons, but okay. Machlekes in the place. So there was one city in Eretz Yisrael who wanted to install a generator. And you didn't have to, it wouldn't cost anyone anything. The people who wanted it would pay for it, and then they would have it, but they needed certain reshus from everyone just to install it. There was no danger, it was fine. And many people in the city were against the generator, from people, not from Yidden, from Yidden were against the generator. Why would you be against the generator? If they want to have it, what's the problem? Elamai, it's the second form of kinna where really we think we're not confident in our Yiddishkeit, and we probably think that we should also be having the generator. We don't want to do it, whether it's financial reasons, whether it's other reasons they don't want to do it, because it costs money. But if I'm not doing it, I don't want you to do it. Why would you have a problem if someone else has a chumrah? Why would that be an issue for you? Why would these people have an issue if the other didn't want to have a generator? That's because that I would look at these people and I would think to myself, they think they're firmer than me. That make me feel bad. So I don't want to feel bad, so you can't have a generator. So that's an example of the second oifen of kinna. The third oifen of kinna is when I went back to Eretz Yisrael and in Melbourne, in my yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, night seder ended at 11 o'clock, right? And Bein Hazmanim, in yeshiva, Bein Hazmanim, we would learn, we had regular shachris 5 minutes earlier than the Zman, because now you can daven like a mention, or Shivs to say careful. That during the Zman, you're busy, but Bein Hazmanim, not the pshat that you daven later, Bein Hazmanim. Now you can daven, you have more time, you don't have the structure of Seder, if the 9 o'clock you have to be there, you can daven like mentioned. So the shachris is 5 minutes earlier on Bein Hazmanim. And so we'd stay in yeshiva, have breakfast in yeshiva, and learn, mincha was 2 o'clock, learn from 9 to 2, and then daven mincha, and then go home and spend the rest of the day with the family, go out to night seder later. That was two of the features of yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. I go to Melbourne, and it's a different matzav. It's a different matzav. Ma'ariv was 9:30 p.m. So at 9:45, like when I first came, it's mamish like, it's like the middle of night seder. I was so happy. For a whole hour and a half, I can sit and learn and gewaltig, and show and Bein Hazmanim, from the base mesh till 12 o'clock, from like 10 to 12. It's unbelievable. No one else is there. Most people are not there. It's a different matzah in Chutz La'aretz in some places. So in the beginning, it was very geschmack. And then after a while, you're in the base mesh till 10:15, you're the biggest masman in the place, right? So you kind of, usually staying till 11, then it goes back to 10:30, 10 whatever. Fine. I go to Eretz Yisrael, a few years into it, we go to Eretz Yisrael, and I'm back in yeshiva, and then I see all my chaverim who stayed, and I see that like 2:15, they're walking home to Talis and Tefillin. Bein Hazman, the day I daven Yom Kippur in yeshiva, Yud Aleph Tishrei, I daven Shachas in yeshiva, and then I went out with my family doing Zachin, and now I'm going to get pizza. And then at 2:15, I see my friend walking down the street with his Talis and Tefillin, had a whole morning of Torah. Now he's ready to start his day with his family, and the family's very happy. No one feels the fathers are neglecting them. So that put the thought in my mind, I want that also. Just because I'm living in a place where I don't have that doesn't mean that I shouldn't be doing that myself. So that's the ideal is that a person on their own realizes that. But not a bad b'di'eved is that a person sees someone else, their sidrei halimud, their diktuk in mitzvahs, their mahalach hachayim in Yiddishkeit, and says, I want to be like that. Zok Rabbeinu Yona, it's not so lishmak, but you should do it. It's a good kinnet to have. Okay, we'll hold here in the middle of Mishnah Chafal. For the first time, we have not yet finished the Mishnah, but that's fine because we're learning it Be'iyim. And Be'ezer Hashem will pick up next week with the second half of Mishnah Chaf Aleph.